How's it going, people? And welcome back to the Jumper Punch. I'm Mars. And as you would have seen in the title from clicking on this, we've got two very special guests today. But before we get into this, make sure you smash the like button, hit the subscribe, because there's plenty of content like this year coming along. And make sure you join us in the description below or in the comments below. And if you don't like what I have to say, or dislike it, or just argue against me in the comments below, which I love. There's been a few people on past videos, and love for the love. I'm loving it. I love people that disagree with me because we can have a good, honest debate in the comments below. There's 3,640 of you guys that are subbed up at the moment. Can we get that to 5K before the end of the year? Halfway through the year? I don't know, but that's a milestone that the TJP is targeting. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty, what we're all here for today. I'm going to bring in, now he's SCN's very own, but he was TJP's very own, Paul Sebastiani. How are you? Well, my cousin.
Hello.
How you going?
Hello, cousin. How are you? I'm good, mate. I'm good. Never say never, as they say. Never say never.
Good to see you back on the TJP airwaves.
Good to see and hear everybody as well. I'm sure they'll be lively in the comments section. So
they will be.
Looking forward to the responses on this video. I'm looking forward to our guest as well, our other special guest.
I am. How's work going? Good?
Good. Yep, busy, flat out. SCN track, RSN. Tennis is over now, so the AFL chat is well and truly going to start, mate. As we can attest to, mate, we were out at training last Friday, waxing lyrical about what's to come and what's probably not to come as well. But good training review you put together on the channel, which was very insightful and inquisitive. A few little queries we had, but that's what training is for.
That is. All right, let's get into the special guest. I mean, you are special guest one now, but not really. We'll get into the special guest, Eddy Korns. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so pumped to be here. This is one of the best fan channels on YouTube. It's an honor. So thank you for having me.
Eddy Korns, part of the Eddy Korns podcast. You can find it on Spotify. Are you on iTunes as well, or Apple?
I am Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Go find it.
Instagram as well. Make sure you go and follow him. Make sure you go to his YouTube as well and go follow him. Let's get his subscriber count to 500. So if you haven't subscribed
before the end of Feb, that's the goal.
Easy.
Let's do it.
I want 500 before the end of this week.
So if
we can get that.
Yeah, we can get that. Make sure you get across to the Eddy Korns podcast. I'll be in the link below as well, in the description below. It'll be his YouTube as well. So you would have seen from the thumbnail the Zack Butters saga. Yeah, is that a clickbait title? I don't know, but let's get into
a saga just yet. Is it a saga yet?
Maybe.
It's getting pretty close.
If it goes anything like TDK last year, not signing before the opening round, you might get a Mars and hitting the table again and telling me to calm down. So I don't know. I reckon you want to start there.
Yeah. Well, Eddy, you're the Port Adelaide man. Is he going to sign? He won't sign before the start of the year, will he? Surely not.
No chance he signs before the start of the year. And as every day passes, I think the chance of him signing long-term at Port Adelaide just goes down and down pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like I'm probably at 75% he leaves, 25% he stays at this point. I don't know where he goes if he does leave. Carlton's absolutely on the cards, but from a Port Adelaide point of view, I'm getting close to being pretty hopeless about the whole Zack Butters saga. I mean, he's an absolute star, and whoever gets him is going to be very lucky. But just reading the tea leaves, I don't have a lot of hope he's going to re-sign with Port Adelaide.
I've always got this, I don't know, it's just a theory, and it's probably bodes true maybe, let's say 90% of the time. But if a player like this hasn't signed before the start of the season, round one or opening round, it's nearly bye-bye. And as you said, the tea leaves, if you're reading tea leaves or you're reading the bottom, I don't know, of a Port Adelaide membership pack, his photo won't be there. It might be like Charlie Curnow, where they put him on a 2026 calendar. And kids are throwing them out already. They're probably getting them for Christmas and seeing him and burning that page. But I think you'll let it go to the end of the year or maybe mid-season, he'll probably meet with a fair few clubs, maybe Carlton being one of them. And he'll probably be signing $1.5 million contract somewhere, I believe. But
yeah, I don't think money's the issue at all. Like it's just he wants to go home. That's how it feels. He's pretty much been at home for a lot of the off season. He's constantly posting stories from wherever he is in Victoria. He just seems very much attached to Melbourne, which is fair enough. It's where he's from. And unfortunately, Port Adelaide's had a lot of his mentors and people that are really important in his development and his life as a whole leave or be let go of. And it feels like the attachment to the club is just dwindling a little bit because of that. And maybe that might end up with him leaving, unfortunately for me.
Paul, do you reckon with the ties now with Carlton, Travis Boak, Chris Davies, he was there when Michael Voss was there? Yeah,
he was.
Yeah, he was. So there's some, I don't know, there's some lineage there that I don't know how the water through the creeks have flowed into Icon Park, a Princess Park from all the way Adelaide Oval, but
Alberton. The Alberton Blues.
Alberton Blues.
I thought you were going to call this the Port Adelaide Blues off the top. It's seeming that way at the moment. Both clubs are shaking hands. Isn't it? It's funny how there could be a world where Port Adelaide actually do win from this, Eddy. And I know, and it's similar to the Charlie Curnow scenario where, say for argument's sake, Zak Butters does leave. There's every world that the club that offers him the big deal, Port Adelaide is going to match that offer. And then the trade will have to occur similar to what we saw with Jeremy Cameron all those years ago when he left GWS. So there is a particular point in time with which Port Adelaide actually do win out from this trade, but it's not going to be, I wouldn't suspect, in the short term. Is there also a world, Eddy, and I don't know, the comments section, if Port Adelaide supporters are listening and watching this, is there a world where Port Adelaide do really, really well and actually tempt him to stay and he actually does stay? I mean, I would assume, and we were actually going through the list, Eddy, you and I, in the back end of the season, Port Adelaide's list, and there's not, it really is a rejigging phase, isn't it, for the club? It feels that way, doesn't it? And it feels as though the picks are going to be worth more than maybe holding on to a player who's not fully committed.
The short answer is absolutely not. I think Port's going to suck this year. Unfortunately, they do have Dougie Cochran in the works with the NGA stuff they did.
Super talent.
They held out.
Super talent. Yeah.
Like they're so excited about him, and it's why they held out of the draft this year, because they're trying to stockpile. I don't know what the math is on that, to be honest with you, but that's what they're telling people. It's why they held out of the draft to get the picks for Dougie next year for the points. So, I guess that's the silver lining, is if Butters leaves, they're going to get this super talent in to replace him instantly. But is there any kind of path for Port Adelaide to be competitive in the next 2 to 3 years? Probably not. I don't see it.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. I mean, you're seeing now with Josh Carr, the additional new coach, it is a transitional phase now, I think. You've still got some of the stars of the comp. You know, you got Connor Rosey, Jason Horn-Francis, who's just a world beat. I reckon he's an absolute freak. You know, I'd love to have him in. Any team would love to have him, but mate, that guy, the genuine X factor. When he's on the park, he's look a million times better. But, you know, seeing obviously Travis Boak going out of your team as well and giving up the leadership, you know, Connor Rosey, now he takes the mantelpiece as captaincy. How many games, or, you know, what's your, I don't know, your early prediction on Port Adelaide and where they finish? I reckon both teams right now, as we speak, they'll be neck and neck all year, to be honest.
Could very well be shaking hands this year, lads. It could very well be.
Agree. I 100% agree. It's weird how these two teams are so connected with personnel, and I think their record's going to be really similar. And I actually think their lists are quite similar, particularly Carlton in 2025 to Port Adelaide in 2026, where it's just so top heavy. Like, you read out the names. They've got some stars, but you get past the top 3 or 4 on Port Adelaide, and it is just, I think Dad called them list cloggers. And it's a pretty fair statement, to be honest with you. Like, They're going to dominate at stoppage this year, and that's going to be their identity. Their identity is they're going to win the ball, and they're going to be really good in the midfield. They've got Stewie Dew coaching that group now, who's going to be awesome. But who you're kicking to up forward? You got Georgiades, Lukosius is never on the park.
Only Todd Marshall's gone down back.
He's gone down back, so he's not even up there. Ollie Lord was the most frustrating player of all time last season. You can't rely on him to kick 25 goals a year. And then down back, that they couldn't stop anything. So I don't see a path for them being good. I've previously said I think they're going to finish bottom 4. And maybe that's just me being a cynical fan, because there's some pretty bad teams in the AFL right now. But I reckon they'll be right around the mark with Carlton in that bottom 6 to 7-ish range in the ladder.
I agree. I think that both teams, as you said, top heavy. And then once you go past those 3, 4, 5 players, they're just average footballers.
Yeah.
A lot of D and C grade footballers that you're hoping for them to explode to the next level and go from a C to a B or a D to a B to get that incremental gain. But I just don't see it. And also, you're getting a new identity. You're transitioning from that running type of power game to pardon the pun, to now a contested ball type of style, which what we are now. We're transitioning the other way, which under Michael Voss, I don't see happening, because I think as an artist, you can't change your brush strokes. You know, I just think you've got a way
that analogy.
Yeah, I don't think you can change the way you paint. The way you paint is the way you paint a picture, and that's it. It's very hard to change the way you paint. So, yeah, I find it fascinating that you guys are actually going to a contested ball, which is polar opposite to the competition. I mean, I don't know what you make of it, Paul.
Yeah, trends are always the moment you find out what the trend is, you're probably already behind, aren't you? So you've probably already cottoned onto it too late. So the game will always go back one way or the other. And you know what? It's almost as if you find that competitive edge in your contested game and it's better than the uncontested team of someone else. So there's so many factors that go into playing good football. I mean, why all of a sudden has the contested game been so frowned upon? Is it because Carlton does it? Is it because Port Adelaide are looking to do it? Is it because teams in recent years have not been able to win playing that bash and crash and cumbersome type of football? But eventually that will come back. And who knows what these rule changes are going to do to the competition as well? Who knows what these interpretation changes are going to do to the competition too? So there are so many changing factors that come down to whatever edge you have in your armory going a long way to getting yourself up the ladder. But I mean, ultimately, and we were doing this with the Blues last week, Bars, we were just going through player by player and just comparing them to Brisbane and comparing them to maybe Geelong. And you may beat them on the day, but over the course of a 24, 25, 26, 27 game season, you're just not going to find that consistency. And I remember doing this number against Carlton and Collingwood both times. And, you know, Carlton have probably got the bigger bodies, right? But Collingwood just had the better footballers, right? And it's funny that you talk about consistency on the day as well. And the polar opposite between Port Adelaide and Carlton when they played each other. I mean, what was the size gap between results and fluctuation between results was absolutely ridiculous. So Port Adelaide does Carlton by 10 goals in the early part of the season. And there's no way knowing that there's the gap between Carlton and Port Adelaide is that big. And then the same happens when Port Adelaide come to Marvel and play Carlton, and Carlton do them over by nearly 10 goals. So to me, it's a consistency with which your list plays a certain brand of football, right? And Carlton talk about this contested brand. They were pitiful in the contest in 2025. Shocking. Yeah. So irrespective of what your particular brand is, if that gives you such a massive edge over the opposition, well, you continue to play that until the sample size over a long period of time says, well, you know what, it's not working, because it worked to a certain point. It got Carlton to finals in 24, although they dwindled away, and you can maybe use injuries as a factor. I think you could have in 2024, because 2025 is a completely different year. And then they nearly got themselves into a grand final in 2023. So to a certain point, the football worked. Maybe a bit of experience and then personnel in 2024 didn't quite come to the fore. And Port Adelaide's been there and done it as well. I mean, how fine are the margins, Eddie, when it comes to prelims under Ken Hinkley, that first preliminary final against Hawthorn. It's half a smother, and then against Richmond, it's half a clearance. The margins are just so fine. They're so fine. And then if the ball bounces a centimetre the other way, it's, the contested brand is in now, and that's going to be the way forward. And if it bounces half an inch the other way, well then, the uncontested brand is it. Again, it's whatever your edge is. If you find that against your opposition for a longer period of time, well then that's going to be the trend and the fancy thing in football.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think Carl probably looked at Port Adelaide last year and he said, we're clearly not good enough to compete. So we have to change something. And I don't think Port Adelaide's just going to be a pure contested team. I think they'll find a hybrid between what they did at the peak with Ken and what they're trying to transition to with Josh. But the reality is they don't have the personnel to play that run and gun, fast, exciting brand of footy. And it's why they've moved Todd Marshall to half back, because they feel like they need someone to facilitate the ball, like how Dan Houston did. I'm not sure Todd Marshall has the skill set to do that. We're going to find that out pretty quickly. But the reality is Port's got to play to their strength, and their strength is their midfield. They're going to try and make that the identity of their game. And whether it leads to wins, I'm not sure. But if you're Josh Carr, you're looking at the list right now and you're saying, well, we're not going to be a super high scoring team. We're not going to be a team that shuts people down. We're going to have to rely on our midfield. And if it means we have to be a really contested brand of football and move away from the high risk, high reward brand that Hinkley coached with, well, then that's the reality, and we have to do it.
They've got a good
just to interject, right? But you know what? Ultimately, right, whether you're at the bottom end of building up a squad and a list to get to a point to competing, right? We all know, and in the reality of sport is that when you start again, it's going to take you, how long does it take? 5 to 7 years. That's just the reality of it, isn't it? To a certain point, you can fast track that, right? If it's a weak league, to a certain point, if a lot of teams have injuries throughout the year and the league becomes weaker, you can maybe fast track results that way. But you said it there, Eddie. You've got to have the personnel, right? But people will say, the contested brand, and then you know what you need to be? You need to be good at everything. That's it. You need to be. The fact of the matter is, you need to be good at everything. You need to be good out of possession. You need to be good in possession. You need to be good on transition. You need to be good in the contested game, because the game asks questions of you in every single facet. So it's easy to say, we're a contested team, but all right, well, you're good at no. We're a good uncontested team, but are you good inside with the inside ball? Oh, no. Well, are you good at both? Yes. Well, now you're a chance to win everything, aren't you? Look at all the teams for the last. Brisbane a good inside and out. Collingwood a good inside and out. Geelong a good inside and out. Sydney a good inside and out. Richmond were as well. They're good at everything.
Correct. I mean, Port Adelaide have a very favourable start, to be honest, with teams in and around. If you think you're going to be the bottom four, but it's a favourable start with North Melbourne, Essendon, West Coast, and St Kilda. So you could be 3-0. And it could be it could be a false start, to be honest.
Yeah.
What's the run?
100%.
What's the
one
fixture?
Of those teams every year.
Yeah, they've got North, Essendon, West Coast, and St Kilda.
Yeah.
They'll be 3-0 easily.
If they're not, it's an absolute disaster, and you can pencil them in for the bottom four.
I mean,
they have to win those first three.
They will. Surely they will.
That first game might be a toughie, but who knows with North Melbourne.
It's big for both clubs, isn't it? That feels like one of the bigger overreaction games. Because if North get blown out by this terrible Port Adelaide team, we can pretty much sit here and say Alistair Clarkson's been a failure, because they haven't progressed at all under his leadership. And if Port lose to that North Melbourne team after getting a new coach and they're trying to sell us on his vision, and they have a bad game, well, then all of a sudden the noise with that is going to be deaspening for Port Adelaide fans and the club itself. So it's actually a really interesting matchup, considering it's two shit teams.
Well, we lost to that shit team last year, so we're pretty shit.
Richmond
We got close. Don't worry.
Oh my goodness me. God. What a nightmare that was.
We saw a couple of trades between Carlton. I touched on earlier, was between Carlton and Port Adelaide as well. Corey Durden in a three-way trade. We picked up Ben Ainsworth. I thought that was a pretty handy pickup. And watching him at 3 training sessions as well and a few match sims, you can see the standard that he brings from the Gold Coast, which is, I find it fascinating, to be honest, to see how low our standards are, to be honest. He trains like he plays, and I watch
Yeah.
every single game of footy, and he trains like he plays, and he plays like he trains. So it's seeing that and seeing, that I don't know. It's just that hard nosed edge from him that I think we lack. I don't know if Paul, seeing him for the first time.
Agree.
Yeah, I thought he was
Yeah.
fantastic in our match sim. I know it's match sim and anyone can look like a world beater, but if just against your own teammates, if you're
Yeah.
looking $1 million, well, then what does
100%.
that say about your own standards within the club? So
Yeah.
Corey Durden now comes across here. I don't know if you've been to a Port Adelaide training session and watched him or watched any footage on him so far. Have you?
I haven't been out
No.
to Port yet, but
Okay.
I'm hearing okay things. Like there's clearly a spot for him in the first round, I reckon. No Rioli, Sam Powell-Pepper's still dealing with that knee injury, so I reckon he'll play round one. But I'm not going to pretend like I'm a Corey Durden expert. I don't know a lot about him. Like, do you want to sell me on what he's good at? Like,
he's
Good
a
set
bit
shot.
of he's a good set shot. He's a goal. I think he's a goal sneak, as he should be. He's a small forward. He's a goal. He's good below his feet again as a small forward. Look, if he just gets a consistent run at it, I think he'll be a pretty handy footballer for you, blokes. Injury riddled shoulder, and another shoulder. So that hampered him. If they can get that right with him, new lease of life, being back home as well, that plays a world of good, for these players coming back home. So I think he should be averaging around that 25 goals, to be honest, 20 to 25. I don't know how many years he's been in the system now, like 5, 6, Paul.
Yeah. There's a world where he actually gets profiled as a small forward at Port Adelaide rather than being asked to play in the back pocket when we're and that's been the problem for Carlton for years, is that our attackers don't seem to actually play the majority of their game in attack, and we see our half forwards and our forward pockets roaming in the back pocket, which is very annoying. So I don't see that happening at Port Adelaide under Josh Carr. So we may actually see him remain in the forward line and actually be a goal threat. So one thing he is for a little man, he's actually quite bouncy in the air. We saw him take a hanger, that's one thing that if he continues to do that and goes up for those aerial balls in contests, he'll be playing in the sample very quickly, I'd have thought. Because that is one thing you don't want to see for small forwards. That's one little bugbear about him, Eddie, that really irked me in sort of the last 2 seasons with Corey Durden. You're a small forward, unless you're one-on-one and you've got to sit on someone, by all means. But for 95% of that match, you stay on your feet, mate. You stay on the ground and you crumb the ball and you get those ground ball gets.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how he fits in. Like, I think it's a fair point. He was probably I don't know if underutilized is the word at Carlton, but just wasn't played properly. Like, it wasn't played to his strength. So I'm sure Carl will have a look at that and try and maximize his skills. But I think once Powell-Pepper gets healthy, he'll probably lose his spot in the side. So he's got probably 4 or 5 weeks to try and make an impact, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, very interesting. Travis Boak, we saw him come across as a leadership mentor type of role, part-timer. I think it's a great acquisition, to be honest. I think we lack a lot of on-field experience, and I think he brings that with his 380 games. And he played for nearly towards 20 seasons, something like that. I mean, how many seasons was it? Something, it's astronomical.
Yeah.
And to play at a level that he did at a consistent base every single week and bring it every week. We've got players that can do that, i.e. Patrick Cripps, but I think he needs to get better on ground. I don't think he'll be the captain. If it's not this year, he won't be next year, but he can now instill his knowledge into the likes of Sam Walsh or Jacob Wiedering and the next cattle that comes through in that leadership group. So I think it's a great acquisition with Chris Davies coming along as well. I don't know if you know anything, just in the background, or you can give us something that you've heard about them, but we know that what you see is what you get from them. I think they're winners, or they try to be winners. I know they haven't won the ultimate, but they're always setting themselves up to win. So I think it's a great acquisition from Graham Wright and co. So
yeah, I'll start with Boakey. I think he's just a guy that leads from the front, and it's just the perfect example of how to be a professional AFL footballer. And sometimes you get guys like that, but they're not necessarily leaders, or they don't like spending their time talking to the younger players and mentoring them and trying to actually show them the path to being a 300 plus gamer like Boak was. He loves spending time with young guys and mentoring them and trying to instill the values he had throughout his career, to turn them into real professional players. Like I think if you could kind of point to what is the ideal professional footballer that isn't necessarily going to win a Brownlow, that isn't necessarily going to be an absolute world beater, but is someone who is going to have a long career, be super consistent, like you said, and have an impact on every game. Travis Boak is that guy, and it's not because he was born with a ton of talent. It's not like he was the chosen one, but it's because he works hard and he does every single thing right during the week to get to the point where he's like that every game. And the reason he was able to play so long is because of his recovery and things like that. So he's an amazing leader, and I think he is just a great example for Carlton's young players. And we've seen some drama with a few of them over the years. I think Boakie's a guy that you can point to and say, that is the standard. Here's how you follow it. So Boakie's an awesome acquisition, and I think Port were probably quite disappointed they couldn't keep him in-house after he retired, because he was a great leader for the young guys, and not only just people at the AFL level, but at the Sandful level as well. He played a few games in the Sandful in his last year and was just outstanding in leading that group as well. Chris Davies is just a no-nonsense, no drama, just a really, really straightforward, tells you how he sees it. He's not going to cause any sort of issues off the field for Carlton. He's not going to be a distraction. He's just going to make smart, sensible decisions. And I think that's exactly what Carlton needs. Someone who's not going to cause drama, who's just going to do right by the club every single time. And while he's not an amazing interview, he's not someone who people are clamoring to talk to try and get a quick grab out of. He is just purely going to protect the club, and he's going to do everything right by Carlton. So he's also another awesome acquisition by Graham Wright, and I think he's going to be a guy that could absolutely be a huge part of turning the club around, because he just makes the right decisions. And while he didn't win a premiership with Port Adelaide, he is nowhere close to the reason as to why that didn't happen. And some Port fans were really happy to see the back of him. I couldn't understand that at all. I think he was amazing for Port Adelaide, and they're going to feel the effects of losing him this year.
I mean, in his 11-year tenure there, he finished in 3 prelims. So,
yeah,
well, not him, but getting the team there and setting them up, and maximizing the best. And that's what Boak brings as well, is maximizing the best. How much can you get out of yourself? And it's I think he's a great acquisition for the likes of Elijah Hollands as well, who we've seen in off-field dramas as well. So that can steer him in the right direction. And look, you can only help yourself with that, but it's another integral part to changing the culture that needs to be reset. And, and Chris Davies, as you added, I think he's a phenomenal acquisition. I had a little chat with him as well. I think, as I said, no nonsense, and he'll tell you how it is. And had a good, honest conversation, and I like it. And you don't hear anything. And when he's asked to speak, he'll speak.
Yeah, 100%. And like with that Boakey point at the start with Hollands, Sampao Pepper had a few issues off the field. Sampao Pepper went and lived with Travis Boak, and it just completely changed his life. Legitimately, like you cannot speak enough about how different Sampao Pepper was before he lived with Boak and how he is now. Like Port Adelaide adores Sampao Pepper. He is probably the heart and soul of that football club, and a lot of it is due to what Travis Boak did when he moved in. He was instrumental for Willie Rioli when he first came over to Port Adelaide. Such a big influence on him. So he's going to be awesome for Hollands and every young player at Carlton. And Chris Davies, I think one of his biggest strengths is he hires or he recommends bringing in the right people. He understands the value of having a strong football department and also assistant coaches and things of that nature. And I think he's going to be really good in if Michael Voss last pass this year,
Yeah.
bringing in the right people around Vossi and making sure that he's kind of set up for success, because he did that for Ken.
You're on mute, Paul.
Oh, sorry, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I had the pleasure of actually catching up with Chris last week at Carlton's open training session. And I mean, all the talk is exactly what you said, Eddie, that he's just no nonsense.
Yeah.
Michael Voss said something really intriguing about Chris Davies when we first appointed him. It was one of Michael Voss's first interviews post Chris Davies being appointed. And he said, Chris is one of those people you really, really don't want to let down, which is fascinating to think, because he seems as though he's somebody that will tell you what needs to be done and what he says is right. Because if you are letting somebody down and you know you're letting somebody down by not doing something, what they're actually asking you to do is the right thing to do. And he did say he's going to be a lot more hands-on when it comes to training, when it comes to game day as well, which is something that our previous head of football was not. And I think he brings with him a ruthless edge, but in the best possible way, Eddie.
Yep.
In the best possible way. And
Yep.
Michael Voss said, and look, and you know it, all these things, they're lip service at these best and fairest and whatnot. And he said something. Michael Voss at the moment, he's in this phase where he says the right thing, and I'm just begging him to, Michael, stop there. Well done. Yes, what you've said is great. And then he just adds this little bit extra where I just said, no, you didn't need to say that. You were perfect. What you said right there was perfect. You didn't need to add on, right?
Yeah.
He said something at the BNF speech where he said, we've lost all these people, but they're great people. So hang on, if you've lost these people and you're letting go of these people, they can't be great football people if these people are all moving on and you're changing, right? You need great people at your football clubs. And when I mean great people, lads and ladies for that matter, I don't mean, oh yeah, he's a great bloke. How nice is he? He's just such a good bloke, such a good bloke. No, I mean people that are going to uphold standards, uphold certain formalities. And we're having this discussion about something as simple as how you address people of executive management at the club, people of positions of titles at the club. Vossi, Righty, Vossi. No, it's Michael and Graham. And people will laugh at that and scoff at that and think, oh, what are you talking about? Those little things, those little incremental
100%.
changes that go towards a certain sense of formality are a standard at the club, right? And again, people will quibble at that. People will scoff at that and say, oh, well, what does that mean? But all these little incremental changes that occur over a long period of time increase the standards of a football club. And for too long, and Mars, you can attest to this, and I think it's something that Port Adelaide became, and it's something that Port Adelaide are trying to shed as well, is that sense of professionalism since the Tarps were over Adelaide, since the Tarps were over Football Park, and the club almost didn't have a dime to their name.
Yeah.
It's gone the complete opposite way, where Port is such a powerful club off the field and on the field now as well when it comes to, footballing results may have dwindled away the last couple of seasons, but they were there to a certain point. They haven't got the ultimate success, but it's so hard. So again, you need great people, but great people are not always about, put an arm around the shoulder. Sometimes you've got to be looked down you've got to be looked down the tee and look firmly between the eyes and said, mate, this is not good enough. We need to uphold a certain standard and a sense of formality at the club. And again, like I said, it's not me being, picky with little things, but you kind of have to be picky with little things, because every little standard you drop, it increments and compounds into something that you don't want. And that's been the problem with Carlton for too long. We haven't made little incremental changes over 5, 6, 7, 8 year period, and we've probably made them all in one go now. So that's what worries me with regard to the season and the potential to have really volatile results. And because it's so different, I'm finding it really hard to predict where Carlton will be at. I don't know what it's been like for Port Adelaide's change, Eddie, at this particular point in the season. I assume there's been a lot of it. I haven't kept too many tabs on it, but I assume has there been a lot of off-field moving and changing, not just with regard to the playing list, but coaches and admin positions. I know obviously Chris Davies has moved on and Boak's moved on, but what else has happened off field? Has there been significant change like we've seen at Carlton?
Yeah, there has been. I mean, they've basically completely shifted almost all of the previous assistant coaches out and brought new ones in.
Okay. Right.
They've got, I think it's Andy Collins, who was like this long-time assistant coach for Hawthorn. He's now overseeing all of the coaches and is making sure everything's up to scratch there. And then off the field, there's lots of changes in the football department as well. So, there's been a big shift, and I guess it's why it's so hard to predict both of these seasons, because there's always one team who gets a new coach kind of bounce, and could that be Port Adelaide? I doubt it, but who knows? And with Carlton, I think Chris Davies is going to be so good for Vossi, because it almost frees him up to speak truthfully. Like, it felt a lot of the time last year that Vossi was having to tiptoe around issues because he didn't feel he had the backing of the football department or whatever. Chris Davies just says it how it is, and I think it's going to free it up for Vossi to do the same. And that allows Carlton to kind of establish an identity and kind of properly point to people, this is who we are, and we're not going to bullshit around it, and we're not going to have to lie in the media or whatever. This is who Carlton is. This is our standards. This is who we expect to be this year. And it gives fans an opportunity to kind of point to it and say, are we living up to the expectations of our club? And Port Adelaide did that really, really well under Chris Davies, where every year, Koshy, Chris Davies, Ken Hinkley, they would come out and say, our expectations are finals, our expectations are prelim finals, and we expect to be right around the mark for a grand final. And, while fans aren't super satisfied at times with Ken because they never won the grand final, you could never say Port Adelaide isn't doing everything in their power to live up to the expectations they set before the season. So I think that's going to be really important for Vossi to have Chris Davies there, who's going to establish, this is who we want to be, this is where we are right now, and this is how we get there.
I want to just add, I just want to add two things to that before you chime in. You wouldn't have known this, Eddie, when it came to Carlton at the start of the year, but what you said is great because you bring an objective mind to this particular discussion too. Graham Wright, early in the season, spoke to a few people, and it may have been after the Hawthorn game, or it may have been after the Collingwood game as well. And we've got a very, very good friend of ours who had a fair bit to do with the club. He's a past premiership player. And he said, Carlton at the moment, he goes, everything's too tight. Everybody's like this. And you said something there about Chris Davies and how Michael Voss will just feel a sense of freedom now that he's in this particular head of football role, which is very fascinating. And you mentioned things being open, and Port Adelaide was that under Ken Hinkley. And that's why I know Port Adelaide fans, a lot of them fell out with him because results didn't quite go the way that they wanted to. They didn't make the grand final. They didn't win the premiership in years that they arguably should have got a little closer. But one thing from the outside in, I rate Ken Hinkley. I really, really liked him as a coach. He's open. He's transparent with injury news, whether that was to his detriment or not. But that was to the benefit of fans because they knew things before media did. And you can go down that path or you can hold it close to your chest. But one thing that I really liked about Port Adelaide was the player went down with something and there was a bit of a rumour mill going around a certain player. Ken Hinkley and David Koch and whatnot will come out and say, no, this is what's happening. This is the team that's going to probably be fielded this week, and away we go. So, look, that can work both ways. It can benefit the opposition to a certain point because they might be able to prepare a little better. But ultimately, everybody sees what's going on anyway. People are not stupid anymore. We've got technology. We can see what teams are doing week in, week out. So, it was interesting that you brought that up because Graham Wright said at the start of the year that Carlton seemed like a very, very tight club, that they didn't have the shackles released, so to speak, in a sort of sporting cliche term.
Yeah, no, that's what you want. You want open lines between club and supporter base as well.
It should be that way.
And you're obviously going to keep
be opening clubs
in-house, which is fine. But majority of things, tell me about the injuries. Blake Acres, it's still that little bit of keeping it hush-hush. But, I still don't know what's wrong with him. But anyway, his shoulder is still in one piece.
You know what? Not even that, Mars. Just between the players and the coaches and everybody at the football club, we don't have to know. Be open. I went back and watched the Richmond documentary from 2017. The first thing they said was we all sat down after that horrible 2016 season and we told each other our life stories effectively. everybody found out.
Just go.
Yeah, everybody found out, and Dimmer Hardwick found out that Brandon Ellis walked a kilometre away the other way from school when he was walking home with mates because he didn't want them to know that he lived in the commission flats. And no one knew that. No one knew that. So that type of open honesty can lead to a closer bond. And again, Mars, this has been the problem with Carlton and maybe the problem with Adelaide in the last season or two, that the unity, people would talk about game plan and tactics and contested possession and uncontested possession. At the end of the day, if you're not unified and bonded as a club, as an entity, as an organization, you are not going to go anywhere.
Correct.
You are not going to execute anything.
Same page, same line, same word. You got to be galvanized.
Exactly.
As well. And I think that's
and what's the problem with Carlton last season, Mars and Eddy? DDK wasn't committed. Kerno wasn't committed. Silvani wasn't committed. Right. And now it may be the same with Butters as well. This is going to be a test of his professionalism, Eddy. We saw Bryce Gibbs.
It is.
Bryce Gibbs requested the trade, didn't get it done, but he returned to Carlton and played a phenomenal season that year and then moved on.
Yeah.
How's Zak Butters going to go with it this year? Fascinating.
I mean, we can see it go two ways. We saw Naz do it and be an absolute freak and emerge as one of the best players in the competition. And then we saw TDK play one of his worst seasons yet and look half committed most of the time and not really look like he was giving full effort. So I think Butters is going to have a career year. I think he's going to be an absolute...
I think so too.
Dominant force. And I think he's actually going to kind of revel in this. The pressure that comes with being in a contract year and all the talk around you. Butters is a guy that's been disrespected for too long. And now that the attention from the Victorian clubs are going to fall on him a little bit, I think he's going to shine under the bright lights. And I think he's going to have a career year. Despite the people around him, I think Butters is going to shine.
I think he loves pressure too. He looks like a player that loves the pressure, and he can handle it too. So yeah, it's all above the shoulders, isn't it? He's got the ability. He's the match winner. He's that X factor type player. It's just
you guys talked about training standards before. I have never seen a better trainer than Zak Butters. And there was a video that came out during the off season of him screaming during a match sim at one of the umpires because he was so pissed off with one of their decisions. And there's actually a story. Ken Hinckley last year in the preseason would have Butters would be on the winning team during the match sim because normally when you have Zak Butters, you are winning. And Ken Hinckley would actually do what Phil Jackson would do to Michael Jordan. And when his team would get up, he would switch Zak Butters onto the losing team. Butters would absolutely lose his mind and get into arguments with Ken Hinckley. But then he'd train the house down and all of a sudden the losing team's winning because of what Zak Butters is doing because he's so pissed off. So he's one of the all-time trainers at Port Adelaide that I've ever seen. And you need guys like that to establish cultures of if you want to be the best, you got to train like Zak Butters. So, I mean, he'd be great for Carlton in that sense as well.
Oh, mate,
we love a training highlight, don't we?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, mate, our social media team, my goodness, mate. Good
well, you got a low lights package from Bucky. Shout out Bucky. and then you've got everyone with a Jagger Smith spin and turn and running into goal. And I just want to touch.
Sorry, I'm derailing the podcast a tiny bit, but I got to spend 5 minutes with Jagger Smith last year. He came and he was interviewed on one of the shows I was working on for Channel 7. And I was just kind of talking him through the questions that the hosts were going to ask him. And after that 5 minutes, I am Jagger Smith's #1 fan. And I think he is going to be an absolute star. The energy and the clear passion he has for football is just so obvious. Like a lot of the time, these young players come in and they're distracted. They've got other interests. They're kind of just really talented and they don't necessarily love football. You could feel that Jagger Smith was absolutely shattered. He couldn't be out there for Carlton and that he absolutely loves football and was just desperate to get back out there. So I'm a huge fan of this guy and I'm buying all the preseason highlights of him. I
like it. Take the $4 rising star.
$4. Get on. Have the house that you're living on in it as well. He could be our best player by round 5, to be honest. And by the end of the season, just be in front of everybody. He looks like he sleeps with the Sharon at night. He doesn't have the girlfriend
That's
is the
it.
Sharon. That's it. Seriously. Like
Yeah.
with ball in hand, he does look quite good at training. I mean, we could look quite good at Carlton training too. I mean, there's a lot of average footballers there. Look, that's not to denigrate it. It's just tongue in cheek. But yeah, no, he looks like a special talent. I like to temper my expectations on those type of players because he hasn't kicked the ball yet out of anger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you don't know. But look, he looks like he has all the tools. It's just all mindset with him and trying to find a consistent edge every single week. And he's going to get, he will get tagged. And this is where the Travis Boak acquisition helps with the Patrick Cripps, your Adam Cherras, you know, your Hewitts. Are you going to protect him? You know, when people come for him, is that going to play a role? Because I saw a lot last year where I didn't like it, where I saw Matt Carroll get run down, and you know, I saw the leaders around him like your Dohertys and your Patrick Cripps, and Lucas Campriali got absolutely burnt a few times. Or Ben, was it Lucas or Ben?
No, Lucas.
Yeah. He got burnt a few times, and no one went to him, and no one went to our opposition player, and you know, get in a little bit of a scuffle. So it's those standards there with that Boak acquisition that I'm looking for the little things now. I know that we're probably not going to be in, you know, top 10. Everyone wants that. I'm just looking for the little things now because it's now for the future. Because I don't think we're going to be anywhere near it. Yeah,
both clubs are in the same boat. Both clubs are in the same boat.
I don't know if
I actually spoke to Daisy Thomas on my podcast like a month ago, and he talked about how a lot of the time Collingwood would actually go after the young stars of the teams they were playing. And the most successful example of that was Jack Watts.
Ruined his career.
They literally completely changed his career. And I guarantee you teams will go do that to Jagger Smith. They'll try their hardest. They'll really try rough him up and make him feel what an AFL game is like, the physicality, everything. And if Carlton is going to have a complete cultural shift so that Jagger Smith isn't, you know, really affected by this stuff, because there's going to be games where he has 7 kicks and he's barely going to touch the ball and he'll feel terrible. You got to have leaders that get around him and really support him through that. And the Camporelli stuff's another good point, and all of that. It's just going to take a complete cultural shift at Carlton, because there's a lot of talent. There is. Even though sometimes it doesn't really shine through, there is talent at Carlton. To maximize that, you've got to have leaders who get around the young players and support them through tough games, tough moments, turnovers, whatever it is, for you guys to turn things around. And, you know, we'll see what happens. But I just think that's really important.
That's a very valid point you make there, Eddie, because there were, and I think you could almost see it game to game as well. And you know, you hear things internally that there's just a little bit of a, I don't mean a malicious divide, but it felt as though, and from what I heard too, and what you see, that there was a little bit of a generational divide between these young, talented players at Carlton who are just coming into the ranks. I'm talking like the 18 to 21-year-olds compared to the Sam Dohertys of our list, sort of pushing 30, 31, 32, 33, the back end of their career, and not molding and meshing in with those younger players. And when there's that little bit of a divide and friction, you can almost really break that bond that you have in your squad and group. And, you know, Sam Doherty, and again, this is not me singling him out. I'm sure there are other 30-year-olds on the Carlton list as well. But, you know, he's at the back end of his career. He's done knee after knee after knee, had cancer. He wants to play in a flag. That's why he wanted to play like Dan Houston. But Carlton's list management's thinking, no, we're not giving up this amount for Dan Houston. We want to go and get Jagger Smith. And Sam Doherty's thinking, well, what's an 18-year-old going to do for my premiership chances? So there may internally be that sense of, oh, Jagger, like, am I really going to have to go through bringing up a young kid again when I want to win a flag? I'm probably on my last legs. There was probably that little bit of a divide between that generation. And I think now with Chris Davies coming in and Carlton embracing this youth aspect, that doesn't mean that you can't win, Eddie. It doesn't mean that you can't win flags or you can't go and make finals. I think there's definitely going to be a sense of unity. And if, from what I heard at the Carlton preseason camp down at Lawn prior to Christmas, that a lot of it was actually not to do with fitness. It was actually to do with unity and bonding as a team, which I think goes a lot further than a game plan may to a certain 100%. point. So that was a very intriguing little point that and some digging that I did during the off season that intrigued me.
No, it's a good point. Great point, Paul and Eddie. I don't know. Just to wrap it up, I think it's been a great conversation that we've had.
Gone nearly an hour, lads. That was quick. Sheesh.
Time
Where'd that
flies
go?
when you're having fun, huh?
Yeah.
But
we've got to go to a break, Eddie. We've got a hard out coming up. Got a hard out coming up. Top of the hour.
Yeah. Who finishes higher on the ladder? That's my question.
Carlton, I think. Barely.
Yeah.
It's going to be a rough year for both clubs, unfortunately. But there'll be some shining lights that emerge in 2026, and we'll have to grab a hold of those and really cling on to the thought that we're building. But it's going to be a pretty much a reset year for both clubs, and I think it puts Vossi in a really tough position because at least Carr has the benefit of being a first-year coach. There's no pressure. Vossi's out of contract. And with the list he has, the chance of Carlton actually playing finals is so minimal. So what does Vossi have to do to actually get another contract? I don't know. I don't know.
Got to be finals. It has to be, doesn't it?
You reckon?
It has to be.
So if there's,
it has to be.
If some young players don't emerge and there's some sort of growth, you don't think Vossi gets brought back if they don't make finals?
No, because I think if it gets to that point, you're at a point where a new coach just has to come in and, the coach is important, Eddie. But if he's moved on and a new coach is brought in, I mean, it's not the end of the world, is it? You just move on. You try and find someone better. Bring in try and find another great coach, whether that's someone who's untried or someone who's tried and won a flag. Yet you're always trying to upgrade these positions.
Needs? Do you think they need a new, fresh voice who's never coached or been a senior coach in an AFL side? Or do you want someone who's coached before, like potentially a Ken Hinkley?
If it's going to be a coach that's coached before, they have to have won a flag. Untried. If it's going to be someone else, it's got to be someone untried, someone who's going to revolutionize the game, someone who's going to bring a completely different set of ideas, and someone who's fully motivated at a young age as well. I'm talking like mid-30s, early 40s. That's what I'm looking at. That's the mold I'm looking at.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that 100%. I'd rather an untried coach because, again, new tactics, new look. It's fresh as well. You know, you're getting those experienced premiership coaches, but do they really have the hunger, or are they coming for a pay packet?
My take. This is my take on it. Right. This is my prediction for the year. I think Carlton will finish above Port Adelaide.
Yep.
Right. And I think the Blues will surprise a few, and I think Rossi will end up keeping his job. That's what I think will end up happening.
So you think they'll play finals?
They'll scrape in, yeah. Whether that's wild card and winning through the wild card, because I can just see. I envisage this, right? This is my whirlwind crystal ball media hype prediction, lads. You know how there's this whole hype around, Carlton's not playing Charlie Curnow in Melbourne? I've got an inkling that might happen during finals.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
Carlton Sydney at the MCG in a final. There you go. Carlton Sydney at the MCG in a final.
Well, how does that work?
I know. No idea. How does AFL work, boys? Do you know?
We must be finishing fifth then.
do you know how AFL works? If you know, when you get all your predictions right, come tell me, and I'll go put thousands on and millions on, and we can all go to the Bahamas and buy an island.
It's a fair.
It's already, sport is already tough enough to predict as is. Imagine when you've got 25 blokes on a field now, or 18 blokes on a field with 5 players on the bench, no subs. Good luck.
I got one for you. This for Eddie. If does Chris Davies win a flag before Josh Carr?
Oh, I don't think either of them win a flag.
They've both gone out of their jobs.
Just
shout out to both if they're watching.
Bet.
Oh God.
No, I think if I had to pick one, I'd probably say Chris Davies. I think Carlton has a better base, and Port's probably about to lose their best player. So even though the trade package they'll get will probably pretty substantial, I have to bet on what I see right now, and I think Carlton has more personnel to somehow find a way to win a flag.
No, that's fair enough. Well,
Bring it on, lads. Bring it on.
I can't
wait. I
A
can't
month
wait.
ago.
I can't wait for the end of year clash between us two because we don't play until like late, don't we?
Yeah,
Isn't it late?
I'll have
Pretty
to
sure it's
check.
late.
It's
Beautiful.
so funny. Like
I can't
last
wait.
year when we beat Carlton, it was the best I felt all year, other than the Gold Coast game at the very end. And when we lost, I had a full-on meltdown on radio about this was the worst I've felt as a Port Adelaide fan. And it was just my breaking point last year. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. Hopefully it's a really close game and there's some positives from both sides coming out of it.
God. But anyway, that's the
round 11, lads. Round 11
Round
is
11,
how long
all
we
right.
have to wait.
We play here?
23rd of May. No, it's at Adelaide Oval, and
Oh.
then we don't play each other
No, that's
again.
it. Only once, I know
It's a one and done. One and
Okay.
done, gents. A one and done.
When is it? The 23rd of May?
It's the 23rd of May.
We're
correct.
not here.
Oh, no, we'll be in London celebrating Arsenal winning the Premier League
We're not here.
with Warren Treadray.
Yeah.
With Warren Treadray.
Credits. Oh, what a unit. Love him.
Oh God.
Oh, God.
I can't believe it
Anyway,
was the gold to get across to London.
it's a big pot, man. I'll stew you some up. I'll get you in the suitcase. How about that?
Oh, very good. Very good. Yeah, we'll be paying by gold and silver.
Yeah, no worries. And Bitcoin too.
Yeah, bonds, signed bonds, government bonds. Very good, Eddie.
But yeah,
Very
make
good.
sure you, Eddie, plug yourself.
Eddy Korns podcast, YouTube, Apple, Spotify. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter at Korns Eddy as well. Thank you, boys, for having me. This was so fun.
Been an absolute pleasure. Great takes as well. Honest as well. That's what I love. Make my advice, and I said it to you before, is always be yourself on camera, even if you're not off camera as well. Always be yourself because people see through the shit, don't they? All right.
Yeah, definitely. That's what it's all about.
Make sure you go across to his channel as well and hit the sub button. I want to get him to 500. 500 by the end of the week. End of the
Come
week.
on,
Let's
that
try.
That would be awesome.
Got to happen,
All
crew.
right. 500. Do your jobs. All right. And hit the like button as well. It's free. Get it into the algorithm, and there might be 20,000 people that like you after
Big
this.
pod
And
coming on Wednesday as well. I won't say who it is,
Okay.
but there's a big guest coming
Ooh.
Wednesday. So you want to make sure you're
Okay.
subscribed and ready for that.
there it is.
Right.
Paul, plug yourself.
What are we at? Pol or Seb05 on X, Twitter, PAOLOSEB05, Twitter. Untitled Blues is back. Nick Negropontis and I. So Apple and Spotify is where you can find us. And I'm absolutely certain that I'll be making some sort of appearance on TJP in the early parts of the season. I've got no doubt about that, ladies and gentlemen. So looking forward to that. And you can catch me on SEN Track and RSN if you're that way inclined. I feel like behind the microphone is just my life now, irrespective of that being at home or at work. And I tell you what, I would not have it any other way. And there's going to be plenty of content out of London at the end of February as well, end of this month. So look out. North London Derby awaits at Tottenham.
Mate, within 3 months, his bloke's gone back and then he's gone back again. He's double dipping into London, mate. He must have a honey pot there or something. Can I have some honey?
I'll give you
No
some
money,
cash
no
in
honey.
May, boys. I'll give you some cash in May when Arsenal wins it.
Yeah, loan. But make sure you hit the like, subscribe. TJP, we're doing big things this year. There's going to be a new host reveal as well, co-host. There's also something else that's coming as well. Paul's seen it or seeing it come to life. It's actually quite fun. It's exciting times. If you want to be a sponsor of the TJP, by all means, hit us up in the DMs as well, or the jumperpunch@gmail.com. Make sure you get your merch as well, www.thejumperpunch.com.au. You can get the Rat King of the SCG, Charlie Curnow special. You can go see he's a little rat like that because he is a rat.
So good.
We don't call people dogs, Eddie. We don't call people dogs because dogs are very, very loyal creatures.
I love it. I gave that shirt a shout out in my
Cool.
podcast last
Thank
week.
you.
I
Thank you.
just absolutely loved that shirt. I want
Just a bit
every
of banter.
Carlton fan wearing that shirt when they play Curnow round
If
one.
I had-
Is
if
it
I had
opening round?
Opening round, 150th game as well. If I had 100 grand, I'd hand him out for free at the ground. Every Carlton fan. So again, thank you for joining us, Paul. Pleasure as always having you back on TJP. Again, get across. That's the hour. We'll love you and leave you. Go Blues. And if Eddie, you want to say go.
I'm a Blues fan this year. Let's do
Ah!
it. Go Blues.
There's
we've got our honorary Carlton fan. Thank you.
Something in the water. Anyway,
I like the
we'll love you,
underdogs.
love you and leave you. See you, crew.